didn't happen by chance. They've been working off and on, you know. And the time off is maybe as valuable as the time they actually rehearsed it, because in that time off, there's a subterranean thing going on in their body and their mind about the work that they then come back to, and they probably grow even more from what they did before. Now, I don't know whether they rehearsed it yesterday or when. I doubt it. Maybe you did.
We rehearsed today and we took it to
You
Mildred. We coached it with Mildred.
Well,
Yeah.
it shows. Had a real sense of moving from the beginning to the end of the scene this time, I thought, more than I felt before. What did Mildred have to, if anything, was there any one thing that she dealt with? Or did she just, what'd she say, Mason?
Raising stakes, basically, raising the stakes.
Raising the stakes.
Raising the stakes.
For you, what, at the beginning of the scene, Serge, what is he going to try to do at the very opening of the scene? What is in his mind? What does he need from this scene that he's worried about, or what is he going to try to do? What is the issue for him at the beginning?
This scene or the very beginning?
No, this scene.
Oh, this scene. Well,
By the way,
that's a good question.
you can't play the whole play, you know? You can only play this scene. And the rest of the play, though, is very much part of the beginning of this scene. But what is at issue? What is on his mind at the beginning of the scene?
well, to me, it feels like I guess I was curious about the poetry, and if she, was good at reading it, I wanted to see it. And because
Why are you concerned about that poetry so much?
before I wanted to see her play this instrument. Okay,
What instrument?
what was it, what's it called,
It was the saxophone.
saxophone. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. But she didn't want to play it, so perhaps I wanted to see her do something else.
What does that have to do with your relationship?
That's sort of a good question for me to figure out.
I mean, why do you want her to read the poetry?
There was something about her that I wanted to see, what attracted me towards her, the love that I felt towards her. All right, to say those words, of course. All right. I just wanted to see that.
Wanted to see her say the words.
Yes.
What words? Of the poem,
Yeah.
written by.
Done.
Done.
Yeah.
And what do you think are in those words? What does the character think will happen? What is it so? Why is that so important? That those words, how does that relate to you and her? And why do you need to hear her read those words? Why is it something that's important? Because obviously it is.
I don't know. It's just a crazy thought of my mind as my character and as Frankie. I just want to see her.
See, I think you have to really specifically understand why, because then it's more important to you. Right now, it's a little vague. I think in that intent of having her read those words, there should be something that relates and should be very important to you in terms of how it relates to your relationship with her in those words and hearing her read those words. Otherwise, it's just, here, read this poem, and she reads the poem, and it's a nice poem, and let's move on now. Something in the scene is integral to the reading of that poem, and your need to have her read it, I think. By the end of then she reads those words. What does that give you? What is she saying to you through those words when she reads them? What is she saying? What are you trying to say to him when you read that
Well, there's something mature about it. These poems are very mature. And I realize he's only 18, 19 years old. And I'm teaching him what I truly desire for myself is to be romanced, to be loved, sort of like a fantasy fairy tale. That's what the poem is about. And I'm actually having to show him what is it that my heart holds dear for this poetry, why I feel so attached to this poetry, these poems. And it's very,
Do you understand what she's saying?
Yeah.
When she, do you get that when she's reading the poem?
Of course.
You do. It's subtextual, it's not really, is she speaking to you through the poem, something that you now are learning something from her?
And now that I notice, like, as I remember, she's telling me that I can't read a poem. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit insulted. What's that? All right, so.
Yeah, a lot, maybe a lot.
Yeah. So, I just want to, like, test her out, see if she knows better than I do.
Yeah, okay, you don't think I can read? Try, then you read it. See what you, is that what it is?
I think so, yeah. I believe so.
Okay, but I think that's something that you have to figure out, if that's it. I think we had the same question last time, if I'm not mistaken, what's going on with you in that poem. What is it? See, the poem is such an important part of the scene, it can't just be reading a poem. There has to be something either metaphorical about the poem that relates to the two of you in some way, or he wouldn't have her read that whole poem. He didn't write that poem, Dunn wrote it. And he doesn't do part of it, he does the whole damn poem. You know what I mean? So, as an actor, you have to see that in the scene, and then you have to say, how does that relate to me in this other character? What in that poem is there that relates to us and my need for something with her? Otherwise, what's it there for? What's it there for? You see? So that, I'm asking, I don't have the answer myself. But if I'm studying the play, I would really look at that. It seems to me that there's something more there that relates to them, or it wouldn't be there. So let's get some notes from Grady. You're a director. What would you ask?
I would ask, being that there is so much change in their relationship from the beginning to the end, what carries through? How are they still the same pair of people? What I saw was like such a change that I didn't recognize your character from the beginning. There was that air of cockiness of like, well, you read it. Like, why do I need to read this? I'm sure I can read. And then I didn't see any of that cockiness once you left.
Was that good or bad?
I think it was, there could have been more truth in the character if we still saw some flavor of his original character.
But maybe it's a scene where he really does change.
Sure.
Wouldn't it be very more dramatic and interesting if we see the scene as his transformation through this little interaction?
It's absolutely a wonderful change to make, such a gigantic change, but I kind of lost the through line of who they were.
Suzanne?
Frankie, how did you come to pick out this particular poem? Have you ever been to her house before and you've seen this book lying around, and then maybe when she went to make coffee or went to use the bathroom, did you ever flip through it?
No, this is the first
It's the first time you're seeing
First time
it.
I discovered the book as well, and I just like flipped through it, randomly, and just saw those words, that's it.
And what was it about those words in particular that made you stop and read that poem?
Well, at first I asked her, were they dirty? Okay, so I was just like curious, and so I decided to read it. As I read through it, oh my God, I saw some, tacky words in it. So that's when I read through, kept going, on and on until she, got very emotional about that.
So it's maybe a little dirty, maybe a little sexy, maybe relates to love, maybe relates to your feelings for her?
At first, not really, but then as I heard her speak the words,
You
I
feel
felt, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Good.
something happened. Great.
Can I, just a question, what happened in the scene before, just before?
Just before that, I gave him a taste of how I used to play
The
saxophone.
saxophone?
Yes, because I used to play in amateur clubs, where we did sort of like these mini shows and things like that, and
So you just finished?
I just finished, and I'm very rusty, extremely rusty playing this, and I don't feel comfortable playing the saxophone, it's been a while. But he eggs me on, no, I play it. He challenges me, and I finally get through and I do it, and he applauds me,
Yeah,
been
because
very much.
I would think that maybe he sees that you're, God, that was terrible, and he's trying to get a rise out of you. So he's just making you laugh,
Yeah.
which sinks you into this
Uh-huh.
emotional
Yeah.
hole. So, I mean, that's a possibility,
That's the possibility, that's good.
is that he's just trying to get you to, God, I was awful, I'm so sorry. And he goes, poetry.
What did you see happen in the course of this scene? What did you see happen?
Me, I saw an incredible amount of truthful
Yes,
work.
thank you. But Ed, what did you see happen to the characters in the story, in this scene? What changed, if anything? If you said this, once upon a time, we saw a guy with a book in it, what happens in the course of this play,
Well, I think,
in this scene?
well, what's going on, I mean, I have to investigate it in rehearsal, but what's going on is she's seeing something in him, and he's seeing something in her that's weird. Oh, that's bringing them to a different point of the relationship. So, you say, oh, I think I overstepped, maybe I overstepped the bounds, and you're saying, I'm getting closer to this, I'm getting closer to loving him.
Yeah.
So,
And how does that happen? What did you see that gave you that feeling, and how did that happen? Through what?
I would work on it in rehearsals, I can't give you an answer. But
Well,
then
yes, you can.
The given circumstances would be.
I think you can, Ed.
But to me, what I would say to him is, it's great, you're a young kid, and she's, at a point in her life, she's making an incredible decision. She's mature.
Yeah.
And I love the way you finally read the play. I think you did relate to him differently when you started reading, and you forgave him. But I think you should I think it's a little maturing moment for you. You're playing around, you're joking with her, and there's
Yeah.
there's something more profound going on.
Yeah, but here's the thing, when I say yes, you can, Ed, I mean, there was very specific things in the scene. You don't have to investigate it. There were very specific things that were done in the scene, and one of the most specific things was the reading of a very long poem.
Mm-hmm.
And that seemed to affect both of them.
Actually, what I was going to say about the poem is, I would give it a second, read it, and try to find out who she is through that poem. Just start
Yeah.
reading it. Oh, dirty.
Yeah.
But try not to read the poem, but try to study the poem, because
Yeah.
it's part of her. I mean, I would have to try it, rehearsals,
Yeah.
and
In other words,
until the two characters, the vinegar and oil, somehow start
Right.
blending.
right, in other words, we may not know all the answers.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have the answers.
But we don't have to explore anything. We just saw the play. If it's that complicated, it's a shit play. It can't be that complicated. What we saw was the reading of a poem took up a good part of that play. Therefore, the key to me has to, if I'm an actor and a director, I'm looking at how that poem changes them.
Right now, I see a young kid and a mature woman, and there's possibly a wall between them. And that poem starts by him making maybe in front of it or studying it and being.
Okay, there's a story right there.
And they both, the scene gets very, very deep.
There's the story of this, of the
Yeah,
play,
the
of
scene
this
gets very
one. Yeah,
deep.
Omar.
Yeah, I don't know the story of the play, but
Right.
what I saw is they're living in some kind of fantasy,
What? Fantasy?
relationship. Their
Fantasy.
relationship changes through the scene. Who they really are unveils at the end of the scene. He's just a kid, and she's a woman that was aspiring to something, and they were living in that fantasy. And the poem unveils that fantasy, and they become who they really are at the end of the scene.
Nice. In other words, what we do, or try to do, I hope, and sometimes we just have to look at what is there, and what was there is this poem, and we're not sure, even the actors aren't sure, but we know there's a poem in this scene, and it takes up a lot of time. So to me, the clue of something, we saw that poem affect them in some way, and then they have to decide how that does affect them. And right now, he doesn't really know. He's not really sure,
You're
but
married?
it's coming, it's
Are
gotta
you
come
married?
through.
Yes.
Yeah, she's married. I mean, she's cheating on her husband right now.
And
She's
she's the
been
one
waiting
who
for him to come
starts
home.
like,
What?
the bubble pops around her first. She sees through the fantasy first, and then she wisely.
Well, she's the mature one, yeah.
Yeah, these are all interesting things, but what I'm saying is you can only work with what you've got, what you see. You don't have to know the whole play. What we saw is the reading of a poem.
No, I don't need to see the whole play.
You see, you know what, this was a play. What we saw was a play. We didn't even have to know any of the other stuff to know that that poem and the reading of it and the giving of the book and the way that interaction happened is the center of this play.
Well, the playwright didn't just pick a poem. I
No,
mean, that
he
poem must have
picked
been
that-
very important.
He picked it. It becomes the essence.
That's
So-
another thing that I have to really study the poem to know what's going on.
Of course, Ed, all I'm saying is, our job is to see what's in the scene, meaning what's there, rather than I have to explore and, yeah, that's fine, but the basics are, there's a book and a poem, and it's the center of that scene. That's the basic. We don't have to study that. We've got that. And then we know that something has to come out of that is going to change us in some way, probably, and does. And that in itself it's a dramatic story. And it's not that abstract. It's right there. You know what I mean? So you have to know why that poem you give her. What do you want from her? And what do you get when she reads it? And you have to know, what happens to you as you read it that changes you and tells him something that's very important and reveals something for you too. That's
I
what,
see right now he's trying to cheer her up. And it starts off as a little comic moment. He's not, because he's not that mature. And
right.
she grabs it.
Great.
And suddenly the thing that he's reading is much more profound. All he's doing is trying to cheer her up. I mean, I would try that.
Without knowing the play, though.
Yeah, I mean, but I would try
So,
that.
maybe that doesn't hold up with the play. I don't know. It sounds like it could.
Yeah, but she just was playing what was it?
The saxophone.
The saxophone, and
I mean, the trombone, I like, trombone.
the trombone,
Mm,
and she
yeah.
messed up,
Mm-hmm.
and God, what is going to think of her? So she's embarrassed, and he comes in.
Good. Okay. So, nice work, guys. Really
Beautiful
very
work.
committed work and very, playing off of each other beautifully. But for us as we watch, on one hand, what the hell is this play? I've never seen this play, which I have seen it, and I know William Hanley. On one hand, gee, we really don't know the play. We don't really, we'll have to study this in order to say anything good about it. On the other hand, though, as actors and directors, we have seen it right in front of us. We don't really need much more than we see the elements that are there, and from those elements, we should be able to say, whatever this relationship happens, whatever happens, came because that book was transferred to her. She read something, it affected both of them. That is the story of this play. in this scene.
There was a moment that you did that was very interesting.
Ed, I got work to do.
Oh, okay,
Please,
all right.
finish the scene, but we gotta.
No, it's all right.
No, it's all right. Omar just left.
You want to,
Okay,
Okay.
go ahead.
You did something, you got on your knee or something to her, and you were trying to touch her hand, and it was a very beautiful moment, and I would also explore that as a turning point, as you're seeing her
Nice.
very differently, or you're seeing another aspect of her. You did it beautiful, but I wanted to see you just dying, growing up, you know.
Okay.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
Again, with whatever play or scene you're working on, please, guys, be thinking of these things as not just moment to moment to moment, not just moment to moment, which of course when we play moment to moment, but be thinking about what I start with and how I end up, and how the relationship starts, and by the end of the scene, how is it different? And then it becomes how I get there. And that's drama with any scene, if you can, or any speech. How does it get to the end? What do I do, and what are the ideas and emotions that get me to there? You know, rather than, I don't know, I just, you know. You guys
should
with me?
should we keep it for next time? I don't know it by heart yet.
Okay, that's fine.
Still, okay?